It's all going very well. Got the flickering candle lamps to indicate when it's timing, all the clocks sorted out, got pump wires soldered on, and then I realised I'd got the knobs in the wrong place. Here's one that I prepared earlier that's completely wrong, because when you put the long M4 brass screw through it, it sits flush, because I got completely confused and thought, oh yes, I have to counter drill the hole in the end to make them flush, yes. And that's actually the climatic revelator. I was lying in bed, not being able to sleep one night, and suddenly thought, hold on a minute, we have a spacer with this kit and we have to have it surface mount, if you like. So I've had to throw away all these ones, well, save them for a rainy day, very rainy day, and make a whole new load that are centered properly and are flush at the top, which I'm slowly replacing them with. What a pain! It just seems with every project there's one particular part that just gives you nothing but grief, because the wooden knob glues onto this gear, and I forgot to mask the centre bit because I want the glue to stick properly to the plastic and not to the paint. So I sprayed them all up, and again last night I thought, oh no, why did I do that? So I went ahead this morning and built a little jig with 2 pieces of abrasive paper, so I could then just sand off a little bit on each one. It's just, you know, that, well not that, but that is going to fit on there, and that's it. One component, and it's just causing so much aggro. Anyway, I'm slowly getting there. I started at 10 o'clock this morning, Sunday. It's now 12:30, and I've just about corrected all of my mistakes. Fabulous. But I have got a very nice foamy coffee. So exciting. Remember, you too can make your own foamy coffee. If you've got a milk container that's about half full or less, you just shake it up. Shake it violently for, I don't know, 5 seconds. And then you pour your milk on your coffee and it all foams up like it does when it's properly been made by a barista. It's very exciting because it keeps it really nice and hot and tastes even better. Making 20 is so much different from 10. Just because jobs that I used to do, for example, I've cut these copper pipes to the short length, and to stop people hurting their fingers on the edge, because when you cut them with one of the pipe cutters, you're all left, where's it gone? There it is. You're left with quite a sharp edge, which I want to take off. So in the past, I have spent ages with my lovely deburring tool going round and round and round and round and round, not quite sure, round and round, and that sort of thing takes ages. Fair enough if you've got 10 of each to do, but now I've got 20. I thought, how else can I do it? And I thought, having dissed the lathe recently for whatever it was, the wooden knobs, I thought, I know what else I've got. I've got a load of routing bits, especially this one that I've never used, because I've got a router that takes a 1/2 inch shank. And it's a radius. Let's see if I can, there we are. It's got an internal radius on either side. I don't need the bearing, but I just thought I'd leave it on. It is brilliant. I will demonstrate with one hand. And it's looking through the viewfinder makes it impossible. Ooh, look, I can push my finger in out and twist it round and no red paint comes out. Excellent. So good, something like that. So it's sort of standardising different parts of the project. It just makes such a difference. So I'm just slowly working through them, and I can cut out the 70mm ones and do the same. And I know that they'll be okay. Great. And the other thing I've standardised is these bungs that... Bungs? Sounds a little bit unprofessional. Adapters, converters. There's an air pump. That needs to push in there. That I need to glue into the end of the piece of copper that I'm just making up. I had done lots of experiments and found the setting on the laser, the dimensions that would allow it to fit, cut out perfectly without having to drill or anything. But even 5x5 grid of them, just variations in the heating, expansion, contraction, all sorts of things, meant that I think out of 25 I've got 5 that worked and the rest were useless. So what I've done, again to speed things up, more efficient, is to reduce the size of the hole the laser cuts in the centre. The outside I'm fine with because I push and glue that into the end of the copper. That cuts out perfectly. Also, because it's 10mm thick, it's slightly conical, as I've mentioned before, because the laser isn't power. It loses power as it goes through the 10mm acrylic because it's not that powerful a laser, 60 watts. And therefore the hole at the top is bigger and the hole slot at the bottom is smaller, which is fine because it's wedge shaped. So what I've done, small hole in the middle, then drilling it out to 4.2mm with a drill bit, and then I know that I'm just going to push in, not too tightly, because I don't want to risk shearing, or assemblers shearing the end of this pump off, and not too loose because I don't want to risk air escaping. So 4.2mm is perfect. 4.1, a little bit too tight. 4.2, lovely. Brilliant. 20 of those done, ready to have 20 of them pushed in and glued, and I'm very pleased to say, having quality control tested every single one, the end of my little finger is slightly orange because of the amount of times I've stuffed it into the end of a bit of copper, but no cuts or anything else. As I say, I don't want anyone to risk cutting themselves, so I've tested every one on my own fingers. That's dedication for you. Ooh, look what I found buried under the bench saw. It's my press. I think it's time to take that inside. I think I was given this by someone who's clearing out their father's workshop or garage. Really nice, solidly made cast iron press, which I have to say doesn't look like I've looked after it, but I did clean it all up and greased all the parts and everything. So what I need to do is to put a little bit of super glue around here and make sure it's sealed all round with plenty of super glue, because you can't have enough, quite frankly. Put that in there, put that under there, and then go, oh yes, so enjoyable. And that's now pushed in really tightly, and there's no way that air is going to escape around there. Fantastic. I'll get the others done. I've got the plumbing parts together as far as I could because the company didn't send me enough parts. I've had to reorder some of them, but they're mostly together. 20 of them, 20 of the gears and everything else together. There's 5 of the plumbing parts that I had sufficient parts for. Moving on, poor Victoria. There's the wooden parts, 20 of them, all assembled perfectly, and 40 pieces of green wire waiting for the wretched electronic components to arrive that I ordered over a week ago that it said were all in stock. Still, mustn't grumble. Rubber gloves. There's all, well, what I can do as part of the electronic parts so far, the fixings, the clock faces, the pumps, the horns, all painted up, packaged ready. What shall I watch? Mr. Ben, SpongeBob or Prometheus? I think it's got to be Prometheus. I do like that film. It's brilliant. Oh, and while I'm on a roll, Microsoft Windows 10 or whatever it's called yesterday had one of these automatic updates where it basically forces you to stop what you're doing and has to update. And surprise, surprise, having done the update, it won't let me open any images with the lovely old Office photo manager, which I always use. It's brilliant. I don't want all these modern fangled dumbed down stupid applications that it seems now Microsoft are forcing me to use. I hate that so much. It's so annoying. Anyway, I'll stop wittering on, get on with things. Fantastic. Just having lunch and the doorbell went, and here are all the remaining parts. We've got the 20 rotary knobs, the on and off knobs, which I need to machine a little bit, cut down and solder wires onto. the capacitors, and the 555s. There we are, the little timer integrated circuits. Brilliant. And hopefully 20 of these lovely little breadboards. And I was designing the kit, I was trying to work out how to include some electronics, because you know I could have made the circuit up, but electronics is really enjoyable, so it's always nice to encourage other people, give them a feel for all sorts of different techniques when building a nice kit like this. And how on earth can you put a circuit together without requiring a soldering iron? And the answer was one of these lovely little breadboards. They're full of sockets and they line up. Each of these is connected up in vertical strips, vertical rows, and the same this side. So if you design it carefully, you can build, the idea being that you can try your circuits out on this experiment and easily change components until you get them working, and then solder them together on some printed circuit board or something. But these are perfect for the required job. And here are the sticky labels, because I remember when I was at school, possibly not, but certainly when I started teaching, and electronics lessons were really boring then, because they'd have the circuit and you'd have to count how many were long and how many down. That's so tedious. It's enough to put anyone off any interest in electronics at all. So when I started designing projects for school and education and things, I very quickly started coming up with sort of stick-on adhesive labels where all the components are marked, so you can see exactly what you need to do and where everything goes without worrying about it. Hence having two of these. I've put two in each kit just in case one of them gets positioned in the wrong place. That sort of thing. I just like to try and think of all possibilities. I know I've said of this before, but it's one of my favourite jigs, because it seemed like a pretty complicated problem. We've got the end of the switch, the rotary knob shaft with a flat on one side, and I need to get it to fit into one of these square radiator brass valve key things. And I was arming and ahhing, thinking about sanding or filing, and I suddenly thought, make a jig, and here it is. Because the switches come with a pin here, it's very good for locating them. So there's 4 holes. You start off with it in the top hole and you do this. Now, oh, it's moved again. Oh, it's typical. Every time I make a video of something, something doesn't quite work. Well, it does. You get the idea anyway. I need to adjust it again a bit more. But that works really nicely, or should do. I might do another one just to prove my case. In fact, I'll run this through again. I probably wasn't pushing hard enough over to the left. That's better. It's amazing. And I've said this lots of times. It's pretty obvious, actually, the fact that the closer you get to something being tight, the closer you get to it not fitting at all. It is very, very difficult to get this set up, and I'm really pleased I have. But that just fits on sufficiently, so put a bit of super glue or glue in there, push that on and it'll stay, and then you can switch your Nempnett Thrubwell on and off. Got all them done and tested like you saw. You have to test every single one in case there's a slight difference. Now, before I start cutting these down, and to make sure they're the right length, I'm going to put the stop back on them, just one. I want to test the length. So I'm going to put this plastic spacer on, which will finally be glued in place. Then that, and then one of these. Then, here we are. There's a scrap one. So the holes are bigger now, I hasten to add. I think that's why it's probably scrap. And we're going to put that through there, tighten it up. I don't care about the position it is with this one. All I care about, hang on a minute. Oh no, that's right. I don't bother putting the nut on for this. All I'm caring about is the length of it. So I reckon on my extravagant drawings, it says that I should cut off 3mm, and I concur. It's just too long. 3mm off the end. That will then go into there and you won't see any of the plastic. In fact, it could be 4mm actually. I'll have an experiment and see. Why make another jig when you can have a multi-purpose one? I've cut a little slot here so that I can line it up. Trying to look what I'm doing, there we are. I'll just switch the extractor on and according to my instructions I should connect the wires to A and 2. So I have dutifully done that. Keeping my fingers crossed that in fact these switches are standard and all the rest of it, and they are. I've just checked one, so that's great. Now I'm going to use heat shrink tubing. I always put heat shrink sleeve over joins. I mean, they're soldered on underneath, but you know, you get a weak point where the bare wire is just there, and if you keep moving it, it can stress fracture there. So putting a heat shrink tube, and it just makes it look more professional. And because I've got lots to do, I'm going to use a hot air gun to do them with. I'm not quite sure how to focus all this. Give me a second. Give this a go. The good thing about hot air as well is that it goes all round. So I'm using a lighter where you have to wrap it round and it covers it in soot and can overheat it and stuff. Hot air is brilliant. Sometimes I arrange the pots for each kit collection and then sort them into there, but this time I'm going to do it the other way round. I think it's more convenient with the electronics. I've got my list of bits and reminders, and I finally managed to get the number 19 to tally with what I've actually got on the table. So there's the 2 stickers, 1 breadboard, 1 wire guide bender, 3 capacitors, 1 diode, 1, what's that? 820k resistor, no 82k, sorry, 555 timer, power transistor and some foam to protect it, length of wire and some more 1k resistors, 10k resistors, 2 lots of 390 ohm resistors and a 150 ohm resistor, all to go in a small plastic bag. Thank you. Prometheus is finished, very good film, so now I'm watching The Long Good Friday, a classic British gangster movie. The maths adds up, and these 19 kits do all contain the right number of bits. I'm on the final part of the kit, which isn't that, because I've done that. It's this bit with 7 parts to it. Now I've had the same old problem where I couldn't get things to add up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got the clock movements, battery holders, the battery clips, the on and off switch, the electric air pump, and the connecting wires for the clock movement. That's right. And then I thought I recounted them several times, tried to figure out, and then remembered I'd counted these as 2. Oh yes. So that's great. So all the bits necessary to put the final part of the kit together. Packaging is really interesting. It's something you wouldn't normally think about, and I didn't even think about it at all until I realised that I had to get these pieces safely to customers who don't want them to be crushed, bent, mangled or anything else. So I'm very pleased with the way I ended up doing it. Got the normal checklist, arrange them, count them in like that, 8 parts including the instructions, then make 4 holes in the side of a box, and there's a specific order to packing them, and you fill up the rest with these environmentally friendly beads made of starch, I think, and then they all fit in the box. And again, really pleased. I started off with several different sizes of box for different, like the clocks and things like that, but I've ended up standardising them all, and it just makes perfect sense. One lot of boxes all the same size. I'll get them all fitted together. There you go. So everything's nicely supporting itself and its surrounding neighbours. I'm just going to fill the rest of it up with the beads. There's the other 4 boxes, 4 of the 5. I can only put 5 together because some of the plumbing fittings didn't arrive. So I'm waiting for a back delivery. A little bit frustrating, but never mind, it should keep me going. Oh, an update on the piece of furniture. I've rearranged it slightly. It's not quite there just yet though, a little bit more work. As I've mentioned before, when I couldn't get any more of the Vuvuzela horns that worked beautifully, the proper Spanish ones that worked beautifully with the miniature air pumps, I had a kit that I needed to dispatch. So I had to remove the working one from my Nempnett Thrubwell, the original. It's been sitting like that for ages. So now I've got a new set ready for the remaining, I think there's 15 in there because I managed to make up 5 packets until the wretched brass fittings arrive, but I've got 5 completed. I've sprayed up 3 extra ones. I can't remember why. Oh, for the heraldic clarion door horn and my beloved Nempnett Thrubwell. Now one of them had a slight bend in it. It was that one. I don't know why, I haven't seen that before. But I think I will use this one for the Nempnett. Handy little spraying jigs that stop you getting absolutely, well, even more covered in spray paint. The way the Nempnett Thrubwell works is you switch it on, you get a flickering lamp there that looks like a candle, and you set the time, and then, yeah, I can't remember how to use it, there we are. Aha! The circuit inside and the clock has turned on the electric air pump that's in there, and that's pumping air through this tube out here. Obviously I need to loosen the Munson rings first. Munson rings are fantastic. They're a real throwback to early plumbing systems clips, pipe clips, but because you can still get very, very high temperature pipes, metal pipes with hot things going through them, you can't always use horrible plastic clips. You sometimes need high temperature ones. So let's get this put on. I won't try and do it one-handed because I don't want to risk scratching the paint on the beautiful new horn. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. It just looks so nice. And now that's on 0, so I'll switch it on. Flickering light comes on. I'm looking through the viewfinder so I can't see what I'm doing. I set this to the time that I want, say 20 minutes. I'm not going to leave this videoing for 20 minutes, so I will pretend. So this counts down, driven by the gears, so these all turn round, and then... Brilliant! And then you switch it off, and when you switch it on again, the circuit means that it doesn't go off. How clever. You can adjust the volume by inserting a good quality piece of fabric, such as a handkerchief, down inside the horn. That will reduce the volume. I thank you. And next time, I've got 2 choices. Either I can get on with this plan, which was to make kits of the chronograph clock. I've got quite a lot of people interested in that, but as with all kits, it is going to take quite a long time. I've got all these bits that I can stop doing that. All these bits ready, all cut out. I believe everything I need to make 2 kits. One of which I was going to make myself whilst making the adverts, writing the scripts, and all the rest of it. Because it's a very big job trying to work out how to put these things together. When I do it in the workshop, if I make a mistake, if something doesn't quite fit, all the rest of it is no problem. But when you're working in the privacy of your own living room and you find that something doesn't fit and you haven't got a pillar drill or a laser cutter or something, it's a little bit different. And you know, obviously you don't want to start marketing a kit, having lovely people buying it and then having tons and tons of people who are very upset having not been able to put their kits together. So that's one, and the other, sitting just behind it as always seemingly, is Victoria the automaton. I've got the wood, there's the wood, and there's also very handily through all the moulding. It's been lying right across the middle of the workshop because I haven't got any other space. All that ready to go to make her Victorian enclosure. So I'm not sure what to do. During the meanwhile, I'll cover her up to stop the dust and to possibly stop her staring at me. Right, thanks very much for watching. Hope to see you next time. Oh, and just before I go, great thanks to Paul on YouTube for pointing out that number 8 in Roman numerals isn't 11X, it should be V111.